set? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Fredonia Central School District Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. We start every meeting with a pledge to the flag, but I have a new best friend tonight. Would Claire Marshall come on up and lead us in the pledge? Because she's going to be a leader for the rest of her life. So all you got to do is come forward and start come all the way forward. Yeah. You're a leader. You're a leader, Claire.
She thinks this is me.
You just have to start. We'll pick up the rest.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Very good job. Thank you, Claire. Before we get into the agenda tonight, a former employee of the district, G. Donald Rathgaber, passed away earlier this month. I don't want to give a eulogy here at a board meeting, but I will say he was a very good man. If we could all just have a moment of silence for Mr. Rathgaber. Thank you. We have an agenda, consent agenda tonight. The adoption of the consent agenda upon a motion and a second, an affirmative vote by members present, approves each and every item so designated. However, prior to the adoption of the consent agenda, any board member may remove any item from the consent agenda. This item will then come up for discussion as part of the regular. If I could have a motion to bring forward the consent agenda. We also have the addendum, which is item 7D, which we will be bringing forward. If I could have a motion on that. So moved. Ms. Hahn, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Marshall. Is there anything that anyone would like pulled out of the consent agenda? You all good? Okay. In that case, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. The board is reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per group. Is there anyone who would like to address the board tonight with any comments? No? You're not coming forward to give comments?
Nah.
No?
Papers.
Okay. If not, we'll get right into special presentations. We have board recognition week. And I assume that you're going to handle this, Mr. Zoe.
Well, I'm going to start, and then anybody else can chime in who might like to. Yeah, technically last week was school board recognition week, and we just wanted to take a moment here to recognize our Board of Education. I think most people in the public know, but for some of our high school students who are here, the Board of Education is elected by the public in an unpaid position, so a volunteer position. So all the time and energy that you see at these meetings by our board members, and sometimes that runs into additional meeting time after the meeting, what we call executive session. And there's also a lot of communication, a lot of things to consider in between meetings. And especially to our board president, Mr. Aldrich, Mr. Johnston, Mr. Hawk, who was just vice president prior. A lot of extra time thinking about the agenda, meeting about the agenda, making sure that we're prepared for our meetings tonight. So for all those reasons, we just gave our board members a gift of appreciation from our administrative team this evening to recognize their good work, their dedication, their commitment to not only the Fredonia community, but especially to the students. And again, part of our updated core beliefs is about being student-centered, and our board certainly represents itself well in that regard, that it's about students and how can we support and how can we have our students be as successful as possible. So, board, on behalf of all of us, and for myself as well, thank you so much. Your work is recognized and appreciated. Anybody else would like to chime in? I'm open to that as well.
It's been a pleasure being here, almost a year and a half now, working with, such a diverse team of people who come with shared expertise, but always with the same focus, and that's the students. And that's certainly why, as an educator, you get into the business, so to be able to work with a board that is firmly in the place of student-focused and student-first is just a wonderful feeling, so thank you for that.
I'd like to thank all the board members for the time, the commitment that they have to our district and to our kids. It's often can be a thankless job. Sometimes it gets very difficult, and I just appreciate that you can have difficult discussions when needed, and that you're very approachable as a board. So it's not, you don't always have that. I've experienced a lot of boards in 30 years here, and this is a very helpful and a very approachable board. So thank you for all that you do.
I'll just, say the same thing. I appreciate each one of you. I know, it takes time out of your busy life, and we appreciate, your support and always keeping our kids at the forefront of your decisions. So thank you.
Just thank you for your time. These meetings, it's a commitment, and I appreciate the commitment, and I appreciate your willingness to listen, and I feel like I'm heard on this board, and I appreciate the time you put in, so thank you for everything.
We'll keep going. So I appreciate the collective wisdom of this school board. It's really awesome. I like the questions that you asked. I think they're very insightful, and it just shows the level of care that you put into what you do on a volunteer basis. So thank you for your time and your support always.
I'll say ditto. Ditto. Thank you for your vested interest and for always being there to listen and have our backs. We appreciate it, all your support. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. I understand how difficult it can be in a non-paid public position, so appreciate your time and your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm lucky enough to work a little bit behind the scenes with the board, and that is fun as well. It's fun to see everyone's personalities and the background that you each bring to this position. It's you all have great qualities that you bring to the board in different ways, and that's exactly why it's a successful group of people with the student focus. So thank you.
Thank you. If I could just add on to this, I appreciate this entire board in that we have great discussions, sometimes lengthy. However, and we don't always agree, and I will let the public know that we do not always agree. And we come at things with a lot of different viewpoints. But I can tell you, after the meetings, when we all go back out to the parking lot, we treat each other with respect. We take nothing personally, and that's the one thing that I appreciate about this board, is that we all fight for the same thing, and that's our students, and we're focused on that. We do come at it from a different viewpoint, but we all respect each other, and I truly appreciate that. It makes my position a whole lot easier, so thank you, board, very much. With that, we have minutes from the regular meeting of October 11th, the last meeting. If I could get a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Mr. Johnston, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Hawk. Are there any questions, corrections, amplifications from that? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from Tammy Nosek as a teacher aide. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Mr. Hawk, and a second. Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, I'll start, and I'll give Mr. Jollender a chance to chime in here as well. So, Tammy is one of those people, again, is a teacher aide, sometimes unsung heroes of our district, who took her job extremely seriously and was very thorough in what she did and really showed a great deal of care for our students and our faculty and staff as well. Was just an all-around great employee. I appreciated getting to know her over the last going on almost 2 years now, and we certainly will miss her and appreciate everything that she did for the district. Mr. D, I don't know if you want to...
I mean, Tammy was a great individual, and she arguably has one of the more challenging roles. She works with some of our highest need kids in the district, and it takes a great deal of patience to do the job that she does. And I thank her, willingness to put in every effort. And on a side note, she would bring me apples every week from her little fruit stand, and I eat a lot of apples. That's okay. So I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about her?
Tammy's worked in special education as an aide, I think, for her whole career here, and I think above all, she is always an advocate for students. She's someone I felt like she was reliable 100% of the time, and if there was a tough question, and she would give you a straightforward answer. And she loved speaking from the past tense, and I don't mean to do that, but she loves our kids, and I appreciate everything she's done. And I'm sad that she's leaving us, but good for her. I'm glad she's retiring.
Thank you. Thank you. If that's it, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the approval of a probationary appointment of David White for a teacher's aide. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Mr. Marshall, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Johnston. Anything on this, Mr. Zaks?
Yeah, so as I think we've mentioned a few times, we've continued to have job fairs over the previous few weeks, really trying to bring as many potential candidates as we can, and it's yielded some great results. And we're happy to have David on board. David is a Dunker grad, has in the past and currently owns his own painting business, so he also brings a perspective that sometimes we don't see directly here in the building. He also has experience volunteering for the Boys and Girls Club, so that's always great to see outside of the district, continuing to work with young people. And one of the things he talked about in his interview was really being excited to be a positive role model for students and making connections and really assisting students to be the best they can be. So it sounded like a good fit for what we've set out to do here in Fredonia, and we're glad to have him on board.
Good. Good role models. That's what we're looking for. Any questions from the board? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the probationary appointment of Virginia Larson as a food service helper. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, and a second. Mr. Hawk. Mr. Zaks?
Yeah, again, Virginia, another person that came about as a result of our recent efforts, another Dunker grad, has management experience at the Dollar Tree, and she also was enrolled in SUNY Fredonia as a business major for a period of time. And one of the things that she had mentioned is really being customer service oriented and really seeing the job as working for our students and for our faculty and staff and really trying to provide an enjoyable and pleasant experience in her role. So we're happy to have Virginia on board. Look forward to her contributions to the district.
Great. Any questions from the board? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the probationary appointment of Jessica Schneider to a teacher's aide position. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Flip a coin, Mr. Marshall. I'll remember that next time. Mr. Johnson, second on that. Mr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, Jessica, again, part of our recent recruitment efforts, parent of an elementary student here in Fredonia, so that's always good to have that connection. A Silver Creek grad, and I'm currently attending post-university, which is an online program for early childhood education. And part of what she chatted about is this interest in her pursuit of a college degree, and that this would be a great intermediate step towards working towards that goal. And, just generally her care for students and her want to see students succeed. So again, seems like a great fit, and we look forward to working with Jessica as well.
Good. Any questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Can I jump in for a minute here? Because last meeting, and I apologize then, and I'll do it again, there was a few people on our agenda for hiring that I did not have their bio information, so I just wanted to share a couple quick things.
Sure.
If I could, this evening. Sam Correa is one of the people who just came on board. Another Dunkirk grad, a little bit of a theme there, but also bilingual, which is extremely helpful. Participated in culinary arts in high school, and also worked within Dunkirk as a cleaner and a monitor. So again, another connection with education, and also has a food service background. And just has a great overall energy and attitude, and a way that we could really see him connecting with students and building positive relationships. So we're happy to have Sam on board. We also have Heidi Colon Gonzalez, who's joining us. Again, another bilingual employee, which is great. She attended high school in Puerto Rico and went on to be successful in her high school experience there, previous experience as a cleaner, and also in manufacturing. And one of the things that she had mentioned is, bringing these different experiences into the school and being able to contribute to discussions with students beyond what's happening right here in the school, and tapping into some real-world experience. Lastly, Michelle Hamilton, again, was on the agenda last time. She's originally from Ohio, ultimately a Forestville grad, earned several credits at JCC, several years of customer service and clerical experience, and also worked at Tops for a period of time. And again, she spoke to being part of a team and working with the faculty and staff here as a group of educators and adults who are really looking out for students. And again, that seemed to be a good match for what our updated mission, vision, and core beliefs is all about. So I just want to make sure we mentioned our new employees and a little bit about each of them.
Great.
So thanks for allowing me to do that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your letting the board know what, who we're hiring and sure their qualifications. Thank you. Next, we have the addendum items that are included in this, but we have the approval of extracurricular and co-curricular advisors. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please? Mr. Hawk, and the second. Mr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll let Ms. Slagle jump in too, because we were working on this together. So the main pieces of this are first of all, a few positions that were added to the contract recently in our most recent negotiations, but also cleaning up a couple pieces around the middle school musical. So what you see as the focus of the addendum tonight is 3 middle school musical assistant positions, one being taken as a full-time position to one person, and then 2 that are split between 4 employees total. So that was being sorted out as the week ended into the beginning of this week, and we just wanted to make sure before we get too deep into rehearsals that this was settled and everybody was board approved. We're absolutely excited for another year of middle school drama production, and look forward to that. And that's the main reason for an addendum tonight. Anything you
Yeah,
need to add?
I just wanted to say that The item here completely replaces D on your original agenda, just to clean it all up. So you'll see those other positions not related to the musical assistant, those are just transposed from here to there so that we're taking it all in one motion.
Great.
Nothing different about that.
Great. Is that clear to all board members? What we've got here? Okay. I guess with that, if we don't have any questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Yes.
If I could ask a question, I forgot to write it down because I wanted to pull it out of consent, was just for E, just a brief highlight of that group's activities.
That's the Netflix discussion group.
Right, just how does that work?
So I think a lot of schools started doing something similar to this during COVID times, where there was a lot of people spending time at home. And there was a lot of common conversation about a certain series or a certain program or a documentary that was on Netflix or some other streaming service. And some of the adults in the building noticed that there was interest, there was a lot of energy around these conversations. Sometimes things a little bit more lighthearted, and other times things maybe a little more serious or in depth. And they thought this was another way to tap into identifying an interest in students and then creating an opportunity for discussion and interaction here in our building. So this is a fairly popular activity right now. And we have a couple good adults who are engaging in those conversations with students. So I think it's just a way to create, another form of a smaller community within our larger district.
And who are our instructors?
We have a couple people
There is
involved,
something
and I
in
would have
it.
to go back.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I know that it's
I
Mr.
was very short
Donovan
with
one,
time on that.
and Dr. Ziliak, I would just add to that and say that they do practice restorative circles to lead those conversations, if you want to talk a little bit about that. So they have a fairly structured way that they develop these conversations amongst the students.
Yeah, I mean, I call it binging. I become, 40 shows at once I can watch in a day. It's become pretty, so it sounds fine to me, I just,
Yeah.
So it's
Something
Mr.
new.
And again, Mr. Donovan.
and
Yes.
Mr. Hobbs.
And Mr. Hobbs. And again, Mr. Donovan with that ELA background, that English background, he does a nice job facilitating a discussion and allowing students to express themselves within kind of his wheelhouse as an instructor.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puck. With that, Mr. Ziliak, we have superintendent's report and district updates.
Yep. A couple items today. So we sent out another s'more today, which you'll see behind me momentarily here. One of the things, again, we'd like to do as part of the s'more is give thanks, again, to our board. We recently had a number of students involved in the Feed Fredonia Challenge. We want to thank them. We had a number of music students from the Tri-M Honor Society creating handmade invitations to the concert later tonight. We also recognize that technically it's National Principals Month. We kind of look at that as really more of a general administrators month, not just principals. So we want to thank our principals and our administrators for all their hard work and dedication. We're going to have a little moment to share some food tomorrow at our administrative council meeting. Also thinking about the students of the month that are outlined here and their hard work and dedication to their studies and also being well-rounded students, and also to our newest inductees into the National Honor Society. One of the things I talked about last week as a little bit of a preview is that each year, as a district and as buildings, we look for focus areas, areas that we would like to move forward, progress in the spirit of continuous improvement. And I just wanted to touch on a couple of them tonight, and we'll circle back to the other ones at a later board meeting. But one of our focus areas for this year is this idea of promoting and sustaining our updated mission, vision, and core beliefs throughout the school year, and really have it be a driving force behind our district. And that was something we worked on last year, more in terms of formulating those statements and making sure that that was a collective effort in getting input. So for this year, there's a few action steps we're looking at that we think will help sustain that effort and sustain those ideas over the course of the year. One is rebranding and updating our visual reminders of our mission, vision, and core beliefs that can be seen throughout our schools. So we started last year with sort of a fairly intense campaign of really getting words and phrases and different visuals up around the building. And this year we're going to transition into something incorporating student art or student work into that. So that's in the works right now. We also really want to create and demonstrate some transparency around the alignment, especially between our core beliefs and our behavior within the district, and also our decision-making processes, and really highlighting those moments where we're going back to those core beliefs as a standard for how we make decisions or how we behave as a district. Lastly, really want to make a real honest and overt effort to share reminders and reiterations with the larger school community around this. And part of the way that we do that is through the weekly s'more that goes out, and each week you'll see things below that directly connect to those themes that we've been talking about. We're also looking to highlight especially our vision, again, this idea of being innovative, dynamic, and global in our thinking and in our instruction, as part of our upcoming print newsletter, our fall newsletter, which is mailed to every resident in the district, regardless of whether they have a son or daughter attending school at this moment. And also the use of social media as an outlet for the good work that's being done across the district. And again, making that connection to those ideas and concepts in our core beliefs. So that's part of that first focus area of really making sure that our mission, vision, and core beliefs do not become something that sits in a binder or is on the wall and nobody talks about and nobody refers to and really isn't part of the mindset of our district. Our second focus area is really about our instructional program, developing a deeper understanding of the overall academic program and assist in establishing instructional next steps. Dr. Wright has done a great job working with our curriculum council to really bring this focus area to life, and I just asked her to update that work that's in progress briefly here tonight for the group.
Thank you, Dr. Ziliax. So, yes, as you see up there on the s'more, one of the things we did is our instructional leaders are all attending the FOCIS forums. We really got back to that last year, and they're continuing it this year, finding it valuable, making sure that there's representatives there. They come back, they share all of the different things. When they go over there, the purpose is not only to talk to members of the same discipline or subject or grade area from across the region, which is very helpful to know, what is happening in other schools, how are they tackling some of these situations, but also to receive the updates that are really related to their specific area. And that allows them to come back, they share it with me, we make sure that it goes out to all curriculum council members, and all the information is there for the administrators to be able to support during team meetings and grade level meetings and things like that. So really making sure those conduits of communication are there, and we get to learn from our colleagues, which I think relationships are very important so we don't silo ourselves. So that's one of the things that we really started last year, and we're continuing this year with that same level of commitment. The other thing is we started with Summer Summit last year, which was really kind of, when I first started in the district, and we found it very valuable to set a tone and a goal and an aim and a path for this year, and so we had our summer summit again this year, and one of the outcomes was to really talk about tackling curriculum council, such a large entity. How can we make this a more, I don't want to say productive in the sense that we didn't do things last year, but really to get to that micro level. Last year was really about the global effort. This year is more about let's dive in deeper. And so we have 3 specific subcommittees. One, these were all outcome surveys from at the end of last school year. We saw as priority areas aligning with our district priorities, our mission vision, and our DSIP ESIP. One of them is to really take a deep dive into a 2-year review of literacy. And then another one is looking at our professional development plan as required by the state to be able to go, we have to make sure it's planned this year, and that is a 3-year plan, and that happens every 3 years. So it's really looking at how do we do professional development, why do we do professional development, what are our needs to be able to go forward with that. And then the third one is social emotional learning. And so it's been wonderful. So we meet the first, second, and third Tuesdays of the month in those individual smaller groups. And we're finding relationships, we're getting into deeper conversations. People are getting to know each other that they might not see because it is a UPK 12 representation. So that's been really excellent just with the first month of these meetings to have people so excited to dig into this real micro work and to see some of the longevity of that. So it's been exciting to do that, and of course we are continuing the lift with our new math curriculum, and that will be continuing with our in-person trainer from the Envision company will be here on Monday the 31st for in-service work, so that's very exciting too. So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Wright, appreciate it. 2 other quick things. The school community has probably heard about the New York State program to offer bonuses to those employees engaged with health-related services on some level. We've been working on that. We have till the end of the month to submit, so we still have a little bit of time. But one of the things that we've been trying to understand, and you know, in any guidelines or regulations, there's always some gray areas, and part of it was who exactly qualifies for these bonuses and who does not, and I think we're concluding that conversation today into tomorrow, and we will be communicating with our employees about how they can submit for those people who are eligible, and then we also were figuring out how we submit into the state portal to make sure that that flows smoothly between us and the state, and then between us and our employees. So that is in play right now. We will meet the deadline by the end of the month, and that will be in play for those employees who are identified. The other thing that you may have noticed in the news over the last couple days, and I have 3 articles here. One of them is about the reaction of our United States Secretary of Education's reaction to the national report card, which he uses the word appalling to describe the results. There's another article I have here that talks about how under 40% of New York State 3rd to 8th graders passed the math assessment last year. That's given in New York State annually. And then they're starting to, and we're waiting on this for Chautauqua County right now, but there was an article in the Buffalo paper that was comparing results amongst Erie and Niagara County schools. So our administrative team has started to dig into this data, and we'll have some information to share at the next board meeting. But what I'm gleaning from what I'm reading right now is that there's a lot of desire or want to judge what we're seeing in this data. And people are using words like appalling and upsetting and shocking to describe the results that they're seeing. And I just wanted to, first of all, caution everybody that regardless of what words we want to use to describe this information or however we might be feeling about it, at the end of the day, this is where we are. And we're going to need to move forward from here, regardless of those words that we might use to describe it. So I would ask everyone to stay positive. And I really feel like last year at one of our in-service days, we talked about comparing what was happening in education to the Apollo 13 mission. And the reason we use that analogy is because at one point during Apollo 13, NASA kind of debated, is this the worst disaster ever to happen, or is this our finest hour? And I think one of the things that we talked about, that in a lot of ways during the pandemic time, this has been our finest hour. We had administrators, teachers, staff members, board members, students, community members, all stepping up to the plate in ways that we really couldn't imagine before and that we hadn't asked them to do before. And I know it was difficult, and I know there was a lot of downside to that, but there was also reasons to celebrate that we were able to show some resilience and make our way through that. And I think the same is true of what we're seeing in these test results and what's coming next. Is this going to be our finest hour, or is this the biggest disaster to ever hit education? And again, I believe that we are going to show that this is going to be our finest hour because we are going to help our students grow and develop over this year into next year and the following year, and make sure people are in a good place to be successful as they leave our school district. And again, I think that will be a collective effort amongst all of our stakeholders, many of which are here this evening, and we can do this. So despite some negativity in the news, and yes, I would agree, that's not encouraging if it's true that 40% of students are not at a proficient level. However, we'll move forward together and we'll make this work. And I appreciate people staying positive and not getting bogged down in the negativity and keeping our eye on the ball and the task at hand of helping students grow. And that's what we've done throughout our education careers. It's just magnified and highlighted right now, but this is what we do. And I look forward to seeing those accomplishments moving forward. I don't know if anybody had any questions about any of that.
So in your readings, was there any curve or consideration given to the post-pandemic value of an education to shine as to where we need to focus?
I don't know if I fully
So
understood.
there's a couple of things, I guess, I'm saying. One is, did they allow a consideration or curve as to the evaluation of students' proficiencies? And then second is do they have a recommendation being our guidance as to how in post-pandemic teaching and finest hour, as you put it? Because I agree with you. Let's just take a bad thing and make it work.
Yeah. So two things. For the 3 through 8 scores, there's a somewhat convoluted formula for deciding on what they call cut scores. And basically, there's a sliding scale of scores that indicates whether you're at a level 1, 2, 3, or 4. The thinking is if you're at a level 3 or 4, you're proficient. If you're at a level 1 or 2, you're below proficient. So there is some consideration of the larger scores in creating those levels. At the Regents level, this past year, a student could receive a 50 and still be considered to be passing that Regents exam. So if you want to call it a curve, it was a P-curve in the midst of that. But I think at the end of the day, and again, the key to all this is what we've been trying to do over my time in education. You assess students, you identify areas of strength and area of weakness, and then you personalize and individualize to really address those areas of deficit or those areas of weakness in our students. Thankfully, over my time in education, our ability to do that efficiently and quickly has greatly increased. And we have tools like iReady, like Common Lit, like FastBridge that are really able to hone in on those things and then provide us with some resources and some tools to actually deliver instruction in those areas. And I think we've talked about it here before, there used to be a time when you needed to figure all that out as a teacher yourself. Or they would give you the area of deficit, and you need to go out and create all those lessons. And now we're at a point where we have tools that can help us assess, identify, and then give us the materials to deliver to students
In-house,
in-house.
which we just wait, delayed from the state.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think you're right. We look at this positively. I think that how we respond is to whether it is our finest hour, but it's how we respond. We can point fingers and blame, and that doesn't do anything. But yes, thank you. The board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less. Is there anybody who would like to address the board? All these good-looking, strapping boys in front and guys in front, and you don't want to address the board, huh? Okay. We gave you a chance. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is November 8th, 6 o'clock right here in the library. With that, Mr. Johnson, do you have anything else to add?
I'd just like to thank our administrators for all that you do for our students. A very important job. It's a very difficult job you all have. And I appreciate it. And secondly, Dr. Ziliaks, Dr. Wright discussed our focus area, our focus areas. But, focus areas and goals are great, but if you don't have action steps, usually not much happens. So I really enjoy hearing your action steps on how you're going to address these focus areas. Thank you for that. And thanks everybody for the board recognition. Kind of a short meeting. Can we do it again?
You want to have an executive? We could.
But, I think one great attribute to teach students is to give thanks, to show appreciation. And I think it's underdone these days, so you modeled that well, and it's good to pass it on to our students.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
all.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Hawk?
Just a ditto to the thank you for the recognition, everyone, and it seems to be moving along on the right track.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Marshall?
The same, thanks to everyone, all the administrators and the faculty and staff that make things work here, because it doesn't work without you and all your efforts. And then also a shout out to all the coaches and all the work that they put in to our athletic teams. It's, I'm sure if we break it down on an hourly basis, they're making a mere pittance, but I do appreciate all the work and the effort that goes into those things, and to the games that I've been to so far this year. I think our parents and our students and our fans have been very well behaved and respectful, so it's nice to see.
Ms. Hahn?
I just want to reflect the kind words from the administrators back at you. When people ask me if I enjoy being on the school board, I, without hesitation, say I love it. And that's because it's such a great group of administrators and fellow board members. And Christine, of course. But I really do enjoy it, and I love the students here. I love everything about the Sprigoville community, so thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Wright?
Thank you. Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're 2 months into it. That is absolutely insane. I feel like September kind of went along with its typical cadence, and you're like, all right, here we go. And then you turn the calendar to October, and I was like, how can it be the last full week of October? This is like very quickly. But I think that sometimes it goes quickly because everything is humming along, and it has been so wonderful to be able to see just everything flow, field trips, sports trips, this, that, and to just see truly the resilience So certainly, applauding the efforts of everybody, celebrating administrators, it's great that they have a whole month that they get to be recognized because it certainly is deserved. But to just see everybody excited about the aspect that we can do school to its fullest. And that's really been wonderful to see everybody embrace, so I'm appreciative of that, so thank you.
Principal Paskey.
So formal. Mr. Aldridge. Just thanks again to all the board members, and just comment on what Sheila had to say. She says that she loves being on the board, but it's obvious, and I can say that for all of you guys, it's not a chore. I feel like you guys all just display it very readily, and that you're happy and that you like what you do, so thank you for that. We've had a lot going on. I'm going to keep it short because we do have a Pops concert coming up tonight. So just before this, we had the Tri-M, National Honor Music Society induction. We had about 30 kids that were inducted at 5:30 p.m. A great board meeting today, and our Pops concert coming up tonight. We are going to be doing our panorama survey on Friday this week. After Thursday's parent-teacher conferences, we have a half day, so we're going to be doing all of our kids during the first period. So we've shortened our schedule a little bit more than a half day so that we can fit that in so everybody has time to take the survey all at once. And then on the 10th of November, we are planning our Veterans Day Parade again. So that will be at 1:30 p.m. if you are available. It'll be great. We're going to be having our Veterans Parade through our bus loops here, and we're hoping for police escort. We just reached out to the police. It's not been confirmed yet, but we're hoping for a police escort up to Wheelock, where they will also drive cars through the Wheelock bus loop.
Thank you. Ms. Troutman.
Let's see, we have 48 students from the middle school going on our Washington DC trip, starting on November 3rd through the 6th.
How many students?
48. So it's very exciting. Most of them are 7th graders, but some of the 8th graders couldn't go last year, so we filled the empty seats that we needed with our 8th graders. Yesterday, our 7th graders went to Letchworth Park. We know how beautiful it was yesterday. I have to say thank you so much to Daryl Wag. He works every year to get a grant so the kids go on coach buses. They were up there, they were hiking, they had a tour guide that gave them a little bit of history, they had a picnic. It was an amazing day, and just to hear the kids talk about it today, it was a great time, great learning as well. Our parent-teacher conferences last week were via Zoom. They went very well, and tomorrow night, no, Thursday night, they're going to be in person. We wanted to offer both to our families, and so we're booked full Thursday night. We will be celebrating Halloween on Friday, so we're very excited about that. Everybody gets dressed up, including the staff, so it's a fun day for our kids. Of course, it's a half day, so it'll be a half day of fun. And like Darren said, we have the Veterans Day Parade coming up that's district-wide, and so we're all excited about that.
Thank you. Mr. Drawling, sir.
Great. Thanks again to the board members for this appreciation. At the elementary school, we started to recognize some of the kids making some choices that they shouldn't be. So we rolled out a plan to highlight the positives. We called it Billies, and Billies are like little tickets that kids earn for doing the right thing. Last week was the first week of the full implementation of this, and it was really cool. So the teachers hit up these kids with the positive behaviors, and then at the end of the week, I collected them all in this huge bucket. We pulled out a bunch of names, and we rewarded those kids with time in the bounce house, and it went over really well. So these tickets have value to the kids, and they know what they need to do to continue to earn them. So we're hoping that the long-term goal of this program is that the kids can self-monitor their own behaviors and start, just always doing the right thing. And that's like a building-wide expectation, and it was a pretty good success. So this week, another drawing, we'll do some other cool things as well. So that was been fun. Today, our 3rd graders went to the Herschel Carousel Museum up in North Tonawanda, And it's a pretty cool cross-curricular activity. The art teacher kind of spearheaded this as she's doing some projects related to carousels, but we also linked it to the STEM program where the kids learned the mechanism that makes the horse go up and down, and they made like little models of that, so the kids would walk around with cups with a carousel with like a bent mechanism. So it was a pretty cool field trip for those kiddos. We too are celebrating Halloween, and we're going to have assemblies with School Safety Officer Kattenmeyer. He's going to talk briefly about trick-or-treating safety with the kids, and I think that that's important at our level. And also, I'd like to thank Julie Hassett here today. She has the ability to secure dozens of Halloween costumes through a connection that she has. So nobody goes without a costume if they need one. So I'm putting her on the spot, but
You are, I didn't know if you knew I was coming tonight.
yeah. So I mean, thank you for doing that.
My sister helps me out, she works at a bank up in Buffalo, and she reaches out to the whole department, and they give her new costumes, gently used costumes, they give her money, she'll ask me what sizes we need. I just spent tonight, that's why I stayed, hanging everything and looking through everything, and then I reach out to the teachers. We also, I might have some to share with Ms. Piper, because there's some small ones. But we reach out to the teachers, ask for names of some kids that they're aware of that families can't buy a costume for them, because it's very expensive, and some of our families have more than 2, 3, 4, 5 children. So we'll start doing that Thursday morning, Friday, and I already have 5 names that we're giving to each day. So we'll be doing that.
Your name again? I'm sorry.
Julie Hassett, I'm RTI for elementary school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But that's a huge piece. So, I mean, thank you for doing
You're
that.
welcome.
So I appreciate it. Cool. So we got that, and then tomorrow we're doing faculty lunch to kind of, build camaraderie and things like that. So it's a taco bar, so I appreciate all the faculty for bringing in a little bit here and there. And then the Penny Saver competition reached out to us, and they're inviting our kids to write a paragraph called "How to Cook a Turkey," and they're going to choose some of the more comical answers and publish those in the Penny Saver the week of Thanksgiving. So I'll be curious to see what our kids write for that. So kind of a creative spin on writing.
Thank you for taking a creative approach to maybe some questionable behaviors.
It happens,
I think
but
that
we'll hit it
that's-
with the positives.
I think that that's a tremendous way to look at this, and rather than discipline, you reward them for doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Farrow.
So I had a couple of examples I wanted to highlight of collaboration and problem solving. So we're always working to meet student needs. In the district, we have 2 special education team members that are certified trainers in a method called safety care. So safety care is a crisis management methodology that uses taught skills and competencies to prevent, minimize, and manage behavioral challenges. So it emphasizes dignity, safety, and minimizing or eliminating the need to physically intervene with students in crisis. So Steve Verstrate and Cassie Farrell are our in-house trainers. They've recently begun a 3-session training with 10 staff members, 7 aides, and 3 teachers. And they will conclude that training with a full-day session on our upcoming in-service day on October 31st. And so then we'll have that many more people trained in this methodology to really be positive, intervene with crises situations as they occur, and be safe about it. And we'll continue to advance those opportunities as time rolls on. Additionally, Cassie Farrell and Kat Beyer, who are our school social workers, have collaborated and problem solved to build additional support services for Fredonia families. They've expanded the EDGE in terms of its provision of clothing, food, and hygiene products. They are actively linking and referring families in need of community services. And right now they're coordinating some sessions for parents that start next month. They have 2 sessions planned, one on social media dangers and one on substance and alcohol abuse awareness. And they're going to roll those opportunities out to families to participate in some sessions, either in person or virtually. And they're working with, I know, Christine in the district office to push that information out to the community. And those are some really timely topics, so I think there's some really good work going on there. I wanted to make you aware, too, that this year the special education is responsible to report to New York State every year on a 6-year cycle on different performance plan indicators. And this year, we have to report on what's called Indicator 13, so that is transition in the IEP. So what that is, transition is, it's a critical component of secondary special education services. It focuses on a coordinated set of activities, services, and goals that helps our secondary students plan for post-secondary endeavors. So whether or not that's work, college, living in a group home, whatever it might be, that's part of our job, is to really help those students and those families plan for that. So what Indicator 13, the compliance plan, is what we have to do to show compliance for that. Typically, is a self-review that we do at the end of the school year in August, where we randomly select a pool of IEPs and review them for compliance. New York State made some surprise changes on us, and they have dramatically moved the timeline up. So what we have to do now is what's called a state compliance review. So we have to self-select 30 IEPs and supporting paperwork. Those have to be submitted to New York State Education Department by November 17th, so that's just 3 weeks away. And instead of doing a self-review, this is a state-level review. The state will review our documentation and our processes for compliance. You know, I feel like we do a pretty good job with that, and it'll be interesting to see the outcomes there. So on the 31st, our in-service day, all of our secondary teachers that are involved in writing IEPs with transition components in it will be working with technical assistance staff from State Ed in sort of individual coaching sessions and reviewing information and making sure it's good and accurate and solid. And then finally, members of Unified Sports have been busy, as you know, probably competing in bocce ball, and right now they're also raising funds for Special Olympics of New York by participating in the upcoming polar plunge this year. So the Fredonia Chili Billies, the last time I checked earlier today, were 58% of the way to their target for fundraising. And this is called the Cool School Challenge portion of the polar plunge event is scheduled for Friday, December 2nd. It's at 4 p.m. at Woodlawn Beach State Park. And donations to our team can be made on the 2022 Polar Plunge website, if you'd like to check it out.
Great.
And that's it.
That sounds chilly.
It's fun.
I'm sure. Ms. Piper.
There's a lot going on. So we've also been very busy. I want to put a shout out to two groups that have been donating some things to us at WELAC. Partners in Kind came today and gave us all of their leftover Halloween decorations from their event at the fair over the weekend. So we're able to distribute those amongst the teachers so they can share them with the students on Friday with the Halloween party. So thank you to Partners in Kind. I also want to put a shout out to Harvest Chapel because they have continuously throughout this fall been dropping off snacks for our students. As Mark noted, not all of our students are able to bring in snacks every day, and so they've been dropping off boxes of cereal, granola bars, crackers, different things, just out of the kindness and generous nature, so that's been nice for our classrooms as well. I wanted to let you know that I was able to enjoy the School Administrators Association Conference with Mr. Paschke and Mrs. Troutman over the weekend. We were able to learn a lot, go to some great sessions, have some time together, which we really never get, to have some camaraderie. So I want to thank the board for allowing us to have that opportunity for some professional development. It was very worthwhile, so thank you for that. I also want to let you know that we also have been doing some field trips. We went out to Harvest View, pre-K and kindergarten, and they said it was the best field trip ever because it was just non-stop talking about it. They saw pumpkins, corn mazes, tractor rides, they just couldn't stop talking about it. And Mrs. Hill got kissed by a cow, so that was the highlight from everything. So I want to thank Harvest View for giving them such a great experience out there.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Forbes.
Nothing this evening.
No? Okay. Ms. Slagle.
I wanted to let the board know that we continue to foster partnerships with SUNY Fredonia. So the connection I have with Dr. Gerber in her high-level writing classes and editing classes, they take our print newsletter and make that their whole semester project. So it's been really cool. I've been continuously meeting with them throughout the year and will continue to do so. But they take my draft, they tear it apart, which I love. They, I mean, when we first met, she talked a lot about like, don't be offended by this. I'm like, I am not gonna be offended. This is a great process. I learn a lot, they learn a lot. So they give me back some really thoughtful edits and a lot of detail on the tiniest little things that I would never think of, which is exactly why it's a great partnership. So we go through all of that, so I give them my first iteration, and then they make a lot of edits, and then I go from there, and there's a whole really involved process that they do, which I'm so thankful for. So the version that you see, fingers crossed, mid-November, will be edited by that class, and we will make sure to have all of their names listed on the newsletter. But I just wanted to let you know we continue to have that partnership with them, and we are thankful that they're willing to take so much care in looking at that. So.
Okay. Being no further business, I could have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ms. Hahn.
Second.
Thank you. I tried to get you back in, after. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.